I love you, but be so for real. The things that you're doing to keep up with these trends for your body is going to catch up to you, and it's not going to catch up to you in a cute way. Ozempic, detox teas, starvation diets, whatever TikTok is telling you this week, none of that is actually health or healthy. Trendy is not the same thing as nourishing. Trendy is a slow self destruction that looks like it may be a wellness routine, but that's not what it is. Let's talk about what's actually going to keep you alive with our guest for this week, Adair the nurse. In the name says it all. She's been a lifelong registered nurse and decided that she wanted to help people stay out of the doctor's office, outside, obviously, get your regular doctor's appointments, but to prevent things from happening through food, holistic health, mindfulness, and wellness. She went back to school on top of being a registered nurse to get a certification in plant-based nutrition and plant-based cooking. Her website or her business is called Adair Health and Wellness Services, PLLC. And we welcome her on to the show today. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here today to answer any questions, provide any information I can to help keep people healthy.
So one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was because you're always so straightforward with health stuff. And in general, you don't really sugarcoat. And that's kind of the vibe of the show, is like, we're saying things, but with love. Like, anything that you say when it comes to people's health and diet is not to hurt someone's feelings. It's just to be like, hey, this is the reality. And I know what I'm talking about. I've been in this field for years and I'm still learning. So that's like why I wanted to have you. Every generation, it feels like there's some sort of new diet trap or trend. Right now, skinny is in, like, just super skinny. Why do you think that every new generation repeats like the same toxic diet patterns, even though we watched what happened to the previous generation fall apart?
Well, that's a loaded question. That's a very good question, and it's sad, but every generation that comes along are trying to establish themselves from the prior generation and doing their own thing and learning their way of doing their own thing and making their generation their I would say their bad habits, their good habits, their own thing. Okay. And when you do that, and it's just a part of life, you're gonna have mistakes, and then hopefully we learn from those mistakes. But what you asked, why didn't the younger people learn from prior generations? A lot of time, sometimes the information is not taught. Sometimes they don't know actually what happened prior generation, being super thin, and and the health problems that came along with being super thin, because there's nothing wrong with being thin if you're healthy. That's not the issue here. The issue is making sure that you get nutrients in the body to be healthy. You can be thin, and if you're eating the right food and doing exercises and doing, keeping your stress under control, getting enough sleep, all of these things that come naturally with health, you won't be paper thin, but you won't be overweight either. But if you are thin, you're very healthy. But everybody wants a shortcut. See, that's the problem. Everybody want to do it a easy way. Well, you can be paper thin and be so unhealthy because you're not eating. Because when you don't eat, you're not getting nutrients in the body to nurture your body, and also to keep your body strong and your mind strong. That's where we get our energy from, is from the food we eat. And you don't have energy. You don't feel vibrant. You don't feel excited. It just, you're going through the motion. And a lot of time you get caught up in the drinking like a lot of caffeine drinks, things that's high in caffeine, high in sugar, and these things wreak havoc on your body. But when you're young, sometimes you see these fads that come out and you just jump on the next fad and everybody else is doing it around you. So you sort of, get that peer pressure and you want to do what everybody else is doing that's in your generation, even though in your mind you're thinking, this may not be the right thing, but I want to look like that so I can fit in. But what about your health? At what cost are you sacrificing health to look like other people around you? That isn't a good thing. That isn't good. I think you can look great, be healthy, and not be overweight, and still fit into your social groups and so forth, and actually teach them a little things about eating healthy and not just taking anybody else's word for it. Oh, take this pill, take this drink, and look, you're going to drop this amount of fat off your body, and you're going to look like this. You'll be able to wear this, you'll be able to wear that, and you look really cute. No, that isn't cute. But it's the peer pressure. It's the generational thing that is passed down through years. Everybody wants to look like this person, especially if they're in the social media realm and on TV all the time. But believe me, those people that you see on TV and on podcasts a lot of time, they don't look that way. If you follow them home and you saw how they live, you were like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to look like that. I don't want to sacrifice my health to look like they are looking. So it's lesson learned, but usually after the fact, a lot of damage has been done to our body before we learn those lessons. That's the sad part of this, is that these trends that's out there look like this, look like that, because we're still coming, young people still coming into their own, still coming to understand themselves and the world around them, so that they follow into these patterns.
Now, the big one right now that people have been talking about is Ozempic, to the point where there's an Ozempic shortage. So I know Ozempic is really originally created for people who have diabetes and to help them regulate their blood sugar. But a lot of people are now taking it just as a weight loss supplement. And it's also been prescribed to a lot of people now who have PCOS. For hormonal things. What if you don't have diabetes? What are the long-term effects of taking a drug like Ozempic if you're using it for purposes other than what it was designed for?
It's one of the real problem with these new weight loss drugs on the market now. We don't know the long-term side effects. We don't know that. And that's the scariest, very scary. What's going to happen to people that are taking these drugs? What's going to happen, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when all these all the research comes in and we see the research? What's going to be the problem? And then too, those drugs basically, Ozempic, for instance, like you said, was made to treat diabetes. And that's actually what it's been approved for, is for diabetes treatment, not for weight loss. Now, that being said, physicians can go off label with those drugs and use them for other things like weight loss and other addictive behaviors to curb those types of behavior. There's a lot of research been done on it. That's why I said, because now these drugs are being used for, other medical issues other than diabetes and weight loss. But we won't get into that. But anyway, the thing is, a long-term effect we do not know. They're used to help control diabetes, which they do a good job of that, helping people get their blood sugar into normal range, which it calms down the noise and people say they have in their head, that wanting to eat all the time or craving foods all the time. It helps to calm that down, because Ozempic is a hormone release of GLP-1, which is a hormone in the body that we have naturally, and that stimulates that to be at a high level, in which curbs appetite for longer periods of time without getting a shot. Right now, you have to give yourself a shot to get get the effect of Ozempic. But anyway, but you can get it through diet alone. There's other ways of eating your foods, eating the right foods, your fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, all these things you can do to help stimulate GLP-1 in the body naturally without taking Ozempic. People don't realize that. The other thing, nature have given us a lot. Just itself to help us. We have this in our body, GLP-1. It lies at the iliac brake of our intestines, the small intestines right before the large intestines. And we have that available to us. We stimulate it in there, that hormone. It would help us to calm our appetite, calm us down, help us to not to crave food as much. And without medication, and these drugs are not cheap. You're talking about Ozempic. It's not cheap. It's not a cheap drug. Even though if you got diabetes, you still have to pay a big copay a lot of time for that drug. So most people that use these drugs, how are they going to sustain that ability to continue to use it over and over and use it over and over again, especially if you're using it for weight loss, which has not been proven, cleared to be used as just for weight loss. It was for approved. It was for diabetes. But like any other drugs that come on market, it's out here and people take them. They figure out how to pay for them and use them. And over time, then we find out the side effects. Hopefully there's no bad side effects, other than there are some bad side effects that can come along with them. You could get, a lot of, digestive problems with that, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. You can get a lot of stomach cramps. You can get some pancreatitis. You can get some harmful stuff by taking drugs that maybe you don't need, especially if you've done it for weight loss, but there's other way to lose weight other than that. But if you need the drugs and you're willing to go along with the side effects, and you're working with a doctor to help you, and you learn how to eat, I always say it always come back to the food that you put in your mouth. You have to learn how to eat food properly and cut out a lot of the highly processed foods, and which are the junk foods that has little to no nutritional value, and start eating more of your greens and beans and peas and nuts and seeds and grains. And of course,
So
exercising is a key. Get enough sleep and reducing your stress levels.
so if I decide, okay, I'm going to take a GLP-1 because I want to lose weight. I guess like you said, like the doctors can prescribe it. And I know even like at my gym, they send emails about getting on a GLP-1. So it's like very easy there's a shortage, but it's easy to get if you want to pay for it. So if I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to lose a few pounds, I'm going to go on this GLP-1. I'm going to sign up for it at my gym. Once I stop taking it, what happens to me? Like if I just used it to lose the weight, I've lost my weight and I stop taking it, what happens after that? Like, do I stay? Do I keep the weight off? Like what most likely happens?
Okay, since we're talking about GLP-1s again, now GLP-1, there are some out there that's been approved for weight loss, which is Wegovy and Zepbound. Those have been approved for weight loss. Those are GLP-1s. They've been approved for weight loss, so you can get those and not have to have diabetes, but you have to pay for them. Now, if you come off these drugs, it's like anything else. If you have not learned to eat correctly and exercise, control your stress, get enough sleep, guess what? The weight gonna come back. And then usually you get to a point where they don't work effectively anymore. After about a year or two of being on them, you get to a standstill and you don't lose no more than about 20% of your total weight. So if you start out with 240 pounds on your body and you're like 5'6", by the time you 20% of that, you're still going to be overweight and maybe even obese, because of how much weight you have on your, but you've lost 30 pounds, maybe 40 pounds, but you still overweight. That's the problem with these drugs. And if you stop using them, more than likely, that's the problem. The weight will come back because you have not learned how to eat properly and exercise and control all those things that was going on with you before you went on to the medication. Because There's an underlying cause. What's causing you to gain the weight and not be able to take the weight off? That's the issue. So we need to get to the root of the problem. Now, some people have other medical problems that, it's hard for them to drop weight. There are things, but the majority of people out in the world, I think we just need to learn how to eat properly. And there's some people that do very well with on the medication, and they may have to have a little bit of medication to get them motivated to do what they need to do to drop the weight and to keep it off. So when they do come off the medication, they're able to keep the weight off going forward. And then there's always the money part. There's always some form of money you're going to have to pay out. How much? I don't know. Different companies now learning different ways to get around all this, thousands of dollars for, 15, whatever it used to be like $1,400 a month. Now they're learning ways to get around that. So people don't have to pay as much for the drug as they did when they first started out with these drugs. So I don't know what the amount is now and how much the co-pays are, how much you have to pay per month out of pocket, but they're not cheap.
Oh yeah, they're not. I mean, it's another thing that if you actually have diabetes, I think it's sad that you have to pay this high cost for something that you medically need. Or to your point, if there's someone who needs it just to get a motivation or a head start, they may not be able to afford it. But if I have some extra money and I just want to lose a few pounds, like I can have that medication and they can't. I don't think it's fair. It's not necessarily like people who's buying it's fault. It's the companies themselves who are charging that amount, but it's just kind of sad that that's the case.
I think that is getting better now. I think they're producing more of the medicine and people now have more access to the medication than what they did when it first hit the market. I think it's getting better for us, access to the medicine is better now. But that being said, it's still very expensive. Yes.
And then you mentioned like some people may have something going on psychologically where they need help to, or a motivation to start to be able to eat healthier and lose the weight. How do emotions shape our food choices?
A lot. It's sadly to say, a lot of people eat by emotions instead of need to eat by health. We don't, I think, this is my opinion, we don't take the time to think. We rush through our day. We don't understand our connection to food and how important it is for us to function correctly and be at our best, the top level, top performing level, if we don't put the right nutrients in our body, because we've been able to do shortcuts. We can grab a one of these energy drinks and drink that and get a caffeine high, a caffeine hit, and we got all this energy. Yeah, that might be true where we can't start our morning unless we have a cup of coffee, and it have to be a very black cup of coffee, very strong, so we can get that caffeine hit. Nothing wrong. Caffeine can be good. Caffeine can be bad because of how much you consume. It's the high amount of caffeine that we consume throughout the day can do damage to the body. Plus, by doing so much caffeine, people, when you become decreased amount, you don't know how to be just your normal self. You get jitteriness, you can get, stomach aches, you can get headaches, all these different things when you're trying to decrease your caffeine level. If you haven't had your caffeine hit in the morning, you get a little jittery, nervousness, and you can't concentrate. But the thing is that when you do that, you can have your caffeine, you can have your, like I say, your morning coffee, your morning tea, that's fine. But the key is nutrients, getting the correct nutrients for the body. That's the key, is making sure that you get what your body needs to be healthy. And we have to put that into our body. Just like you put caffeine and anything else we drink and so forth into our body, we need to be, very intentional about what we're doing and knowing the harm that we can do for not putting the right food in our body, and understanding that, because if you don't see the effect like immediately, a lot of people are willing to take the risk. But what happened is, over time, it catches up with you. When you're young, you may not see a great, because the body is so forgiving when we're young. We got a lot of reserve there, to help keep us, healthy, and keep us from being really sick and all of this. Lots of time when we're young. But as we age, that reserve begins to wear out. And then by the time we hit our late 30s, we begin to see it 40s. And by the time you get 50, you begin to get all of these diseases that you hear about: high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, all of these things, kidney disease, um, Alzheimer's, and all the stuff that you never thought about when you were younger. But when you're younger, you have the chance. That's the chance to really to keep the body healthy. Learn all you can to keep the body healthy, so that when you get older and you still got those principles in place, and you can still eat healthy, exercise, keep the stress level down, and you have the energy to do, and the brain power to function correctly in life and make informed decisions in your life without making them on impulses and fads, and what this person saying. And no, you want to be, a sense of a stability, a sense of calmness, a sense of connection with yourself and the universe, and with nature. So you got to be able to calm your nerves, because when your nerves are on edge, it's easy to fall into the wrong situation, eat incorrectly because you're impulsively eating. You're just grabbing something to go to the next meeting. You're just grabbing something to get through the day. You're not sitting down, looking at your food, smelling your food, being thankful for the food that's on your plate, and taking the time to taste the food that's on your plate and enjoying the food, and knowing that from what you're eating, the whole grains and nuts and your seeds, and if you eat meat, your lean cuts of meat, and grass fed, the best cuts, your natural, making sure your organic eggs, that they're pasture raised, and the chickens are out to forage for the food. That type, you're getting the best quality of food, because you want to get the best quality of food into your system, so you can give your best out, so you can be your best when you are in the world. And that's the key. I think these are the things that people are missing, because we're so caught up on the next thing. Let me get this. Let me grab this. I'll be okay. Let me just get through the day. Let me get through this minute. Let me do this. Let me do that. And just grabbing this stuff and putting the wrong things in our body. And the body begin to break. The mind going to break. Then we're all off balance. We're suffering from depression. We're suffering from anxiety. We're suffering from all these things because of how we have lived our lives. Yeah.
At that reminds me of like a fact. I don't know if it's still true, but it was true like 3 years ago at the firm that I worked for. The retirement age is 60, like the forced retirement age is 60, and they get a $250,000 pension per year, but most of them die by 70 because of all the stress and like neglecting their body, and like the caffeine or whatever the case was not being regulated. Once they stop working, it's like it catches up to them, and they don't even get that many years with that $250,000 pension. Like a lot of them die by 70, and some of them, there's like partners that die before they even retire because of like one like died after being on a flight for a client, just because probably like I think she was like a little bit overweight, and the stress and poor eating habits definitely contributed to her untimely demise. Yeah. So it just made me
That's the
think of that.
sad part.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. And that's the sad part. So you live your life running to the next meeting, doing everything. Always got to be the next part. Always got to be the next thing. Always got to look this way. Always got to be that way. You never take time to really just relax, unwind, truly unwind, and enjoy each day. each moment. We always thinking about tomorrow, and forgetting about right now, today, being in the present. See, that's when you're fully enjoying life, when you're in the present moment and enjoying that moment. That's when you're living and not thinking about what you got to do next, what you got to, or what happened yesterday. Can't fix yesterday because yesterday's in the past. Can't do anything about the future because tomorrow is the future. So you have to learn to be just here and right now and deal with what's present, and then let the rest take care of itself when you get there. Stop trying to live ahead of time and wearing your body out, wearing the mind out. And that's the sad part. And how do we get that over to people, especially younger people, that you need to slow down, have your moment, have your thoughts and things, and try to make the world better that you're living in, and making sure that you're healthy while you're doing that. We want young people to have these bright ideas, great ideas, but we also want people to nurture their body so they can keep those bright ideas and be able to enjoy some of those bright ideas that you guys going to develop along the way when they are in, full a few issues. I mean, they're there and people enjoy them, so that you'll be able to enjoy what you was able to help create along the way, so that you don't die young or be so sickly and can't enjoy it. And that's another thing people don't realize. And I try to teach this in my teaching, is that, research says, and for the number of people, how long people live and all of this, basically in the United States, the last 12 years of people's lives are usually lived in poor health. The last 12 years that they're living, they're usually sickly. Something is going wrong with them. They don't understand, but they're sick. Those last 12 years, they don't get a chance to get that, those golden years, or enjoy those things in life that they work so hard. The money, like you said, the retirement age. A lot of people die a year or two after they retire, or right before they retire, or they don't get a chance to enjoy all that work that they put in, and they're so busy trying to get to that next level, busy get that, instead of nurturing their body. Nothing wrong with being ambitious, nothing wrong with building a great career, but build the body and mind along with it.
Right, exactly. Because what was the point then? Like, there's no point if you don't get to ever enjoy it. So yeah, that stat that I knew was like just so eye-opening on how you treat yourself matters. Doesn't really matter if you have this crazy pension that you're gonna get if you don't get to use it. Like, oh well. So then on the flip side, because we talked about how like your emotions and what you have going on in a day shape our food choices, how do our food choices shape our emotions or our decision making or our ability to think clearly? Like if you're not getting a certain amount of nutrients that you need, how can that impact your brain?
My goodness, that's everything. People don't realize it, and that's why they use a lot of substance, other things, supplements, drugs, different things, to try to get the brain to work a certain way instead of giving it the nutrients it needs. Because if you don't, it doesn't work. You can't have those brilliant ideas if the brain is not working properly. It's hard to get that. And so people give it stimulants, to try to get that brain to work correctly. When the brain needs is sugar, of course, glucose, which is sugar, and cholesterol, so, fats, healthy ones. To work properly, it has to have a certain amount of cholesterol, has to have a certain amount of glucose to work properly, right? And the body, and the way you get, if you don't get it, actually, you think you're working at a high level, but you're really not, because the body, your brain is being stimulated artificially with stimulants in a way, and not getting it what it needs. So it's wearing it out, slowly wearing it out. And that's why a lot of us are being diagnosed early, a lot of time, with all of these medical conditions, and especially dementia, Alzheimer's, and all of those things, because of how we are not nurturing the body, not giving it the nutrients. After a while, it will wear down, and it won't be able to function. You won't be able to think. I don't know if you have this problem, and I know I do. When I don't get enough sleep in the morning, I don't have my brain fog. What I said, I mean, I don't have my brain doesn't I have brain fog. My brain doesn't work as sharp as it would normally do. I don't have, all of this energy and thoughts that's going through my brain early in the morning. I don't have that like I do. And I know when I don't get enough sleep, because when I wake up in the morning, I can feel it. If I get under 6 hours of sleep, I don't feel well. And I always trying to get 7 or more hours of sleep. And when I come under that, I'm not as sharp in the morning as I would be if I had restful sleeping. I've been able to go to bed on time, get my restful sleep, and get up and do my morning routines and everything. And I don't have the energy. When you don't feel like you want to get out of bed in the morning, that's an eye opener for you, because the body is telling you something. It's tired. Why is it tired? It didn't sleep well. Why didn't the body sleep well? Well, you probably didn't go to bed until 12 o'clock, and now you're trying to get up at 6 o'clock, and you didn't wind down to 12, and you're trying to get going and get your day going. And the day before, you probably didn't get to bed until 12 again. Well, you're sleep deprived. A lot of people are walking around sleep deprived. They're functioning and thinking they're functioning at a high level. They might be than the other coworkers, but they still not functioning at a higher level than what they may be able to do if they were not sleep deprived. And it takes a toll on your body. You begin to get ill, your immune system you get colds, you get sick. Your skin won't look as nice. You start to get, bumps and stuff on your skin, or you get aches and pains in your joints that you don't have. Those are things telling you that the body is hurting. Something went wrong. And that's your time to evaluate self, to see what went wrong with the body. Be honest. What haven't you been doing? Because all of us know exactly what we have not been doing if we're feeling sick. What did we not do? That's the time to, and then start to do the correct thing.
Now, if I like to also think about things in like parasocial terms, or like relationships, for example, if you're someone who is trying to kind of, I don't want to say starve yourself, but you're on a calorie deficit, trying to lose weight, you're not getting your nutrients that you need, and you're in a state of deprivation, how would you treat those around you? Like, would that start to impact your relationships and like how you show up in them?
Of course, it is amazing. And that's one of the things I always do when people are really short-tempered, or easy to get upset. I'm always wondering, I don't even think is it about me, if they short with me or whatever. I'm always thinking, what's wrong with them? I'm always saying, oh, they must not have got enough sleep. Or they really feeling bad? Something hurting with them? Why are they irritable? Or why are they, always have an attitude? Most of the time, a lot of time, it's not even about the person or you or whoever they're talking or interacting with. It's about what they're not doing for themselves, what they're not doing for their mind and their body and their spirit. And then they have a tendency to act out that irritation with others that are around them. Okay. And sometimes they don't even realize it. And yes, it does. Our inability to nurture our body and mind and spirit and soul affects other around us, because we act out behaviors that we probably wouldn't do, because we didn't get enough sleep. We might be hungry, or we might be upset about something that happened with somebody else, and we take it out on the next person next to us, because we're not able to calm and center our body, calm the mind, and center ourselves, and be present within that time and space. We're always thinking outside about tomorrow and yesterday, and not being today, present
Mm-hmm.
in today. And that's where the problem lies. That's where the problem always lies. When somebody's upset, you can think when people get a little snippy with you, and you're like, what did I do? Probably nothing. It's what's going on with them. And you ask them that a lot of time, they might be, what are you talking about? Nothing wrong with me. Okay. Then you step back, because that tells you something too. You begin to understand people. And a lot of times it's not even about you, it's about them. Yeah, what's going on with them. And like I said, a lot of time in that offense, they don't even realize it. And when you ask them about it, they still don't realize it until something happens really big. Sometimes they say, it was me. Oh my God, I didn't show up today. That was not me. The person that showed up was a completely different person. When they were able to calm themselves, like I said, calm yourself, calm the mind, the body, and the spirit, and be present in today, not yesterday, and worrying about tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. So you spoke about how like a lot of the issue is people trying to chase a quick fix for whatever it is, whether it's energy with too much caffeine or being skinny and like, okay, I'm going to take a GLP-1. What do you think about? I know another quick fix that's been on the rise is liposuction. Like, is that, I feel like it's marketed as all you got to do is go get the little surgery and then you're going to be good. Like you're skinny now and you've achieved what you need, and you can get lipo on any area of your body. It doesn't just have to be your stomach. You can get lipo on your arms, you get lipo on your chin. There's so much liposuction we can get. So is that something that is sustainable? Like once you get it, you're kind of good unless you have kids?
No, because the problem is not the liposuction getting the life. The problem is with the person. See, the problem is not liking what you see when you're in the mirror. That's the issue. That's the big issue. And since there's a way I can fix that quick, why don't I just get surgery? Well, the problem of the stomach might be flat, but that'd be other problem someplace else on the body because you didn't fix the issue in the beginning. An issue beginning is understanding your body, understanding and accepting yourself. Self-love is very important. Loving yourself for who you are and loving what you see in the mirror. Most of us do not love what we see in the mirror. We are like always fighting to look like somebody else or something. Nothing wrong with the way you look. Nothing wrong with that at all. That's you. Accept who you are, and we deal with that. And if there's a little bit more cushion on the body, a little bit more weight, a little bit more adipose tissue that we don't like, there's something you can do about it instead of going under, liposuction or having some type of surgery to have it removed or taking drugs. We just have to say, okay, why is it there? Think about it. What am I doing to make this happen? Well, my mom, she had big hips. My mom, she was overweight. My grandmother, she was overweight. So I'm going to be overweight. Well, yes and no. Just because you have the tendency for your gene pool or your family heritage to be a little bit hippie, a little bit overweight, doesn't mean that you have to be, because genes doesn't make you fat. Genes doesn't make you, there's no fat gene, just like, okay, you got a fat gene. No, it's the tendency, it's there. It could be activated. That gene might be there, but you have to activate it. You have to be doing something to cause that to happen to you. And what is that? What is that something? Well, if you were doing the same thing that your family did that caused them to be a little overweight or obese, if you're doing that, eating incorrect, a lot of junk food, unhealthy food, drinking too much sodas and alcohol, whatever it may be, doing whatever, then yes, you're going to activate that gene. You're going to get and look just like them. But if you don't do those things, change your lifestyle, have a better eating habit, do the exercise, do all the things right, more than likely, you're not going to look like that. So, and because to answer your question about liposuction, yeah, it can remove the fat, and that fat doesn't come back in that area usually. You might get it someplace else and whatever, but you might get a little bit of, you got lipo down low, you might get fat up above where you have the liposuction there, but usually those are okay. But you didn't solve the problem, so it means you're going to get fat elsewhere on the body. Those fat cells won't come back. You can get other fat cells. So we still can have a problem because you didn't really solve the problem. You took some of the fat out, which you look better, but it can come back elsewhere on the body. Yeah, you can still be overweight and still have a problem because you're looking for a quick fix. You don't know how to fix you. The person don't know how to fix themselves. So it's always the person. What's going on inside? We have to always look inside ourselves and say, what's wrong with me? Why am I chasing a quick fix? Why am I always looking for a knight in shining armor? And there isn't one. There is no somebody gonna come and rescue you. We have to learn how to rescue ourselves. We have to learn how to give ourselves what we need, and that's unconditional love. That's it. And love what we see. And then the little things that we can do something about, because believe me, this is what I know for sure. If we eat healthy, the nuts, seeds, and grains and vegetables and all of those things, and eating little to no processed food as much as we can, because most of the world is a lot of processed food, everything's out here. But knowing what processed food doesn't give us, it doesn't give us the right nutrients that we need. If we cut out that and drink enough water, get enough sleep, exercise, do all these things, reduce our stress level, guess what? We won't have a weight problem. You won't have a weight problem. None of us have a weight problem if we do all of those things. And we'll look great in our clothes. We want to be chasing the next fad or the next best thing. And we always
Yeah.
chase the next fad and the next best thing when we don't look at the core problem, look at the root of all of it.
So I like what you said about like it's always the person, like genetics doesn't make someone fat. And also just you have to start with loving yourself no matter where you're at. If you are overweight or if you're underweight or if you are just being picky and you have a problem area, regardless of where you are in that journey, thinking about loving yourself. I agree with that, but then there's people who take it too far and they're like, okay, I'm going to give an example. People, when there's overweight people, they're like, you're beautiful, to like kind of hype them up. And there's the whole body positivity thing, which I agree with body positivity. But to me, that's not the same as acknowledging that there's something not healthy about you. We can't just, people take it to the extreme and just say, we're going to ignore health problems. And I'm like, no, we shouldn't ignore them. That person should love themselves and we should accept them and treat them the same as I would treat anybody else that doesn't have apparent health problems. Like everyone should be treated the same and they should love themselves, but I'm not going to overcompensate and be like, you're so this and you're so that and you rock, don't ever change. If that's like, if no, you probably like, I'm not going to tell you to do something, but I'm not going to say don't ever change if you probably should make some better choices. Like I know Lizzo, like the singer, people got mad at her when she started losing weight and they were like, what do you mean? You said you loved yourself. You were all about body positivity even when you were big and now you're losing weight. You were being fake. You didn't love yourself. But how can we say like you as a health professional are saying you should love yourself when you're big, and if you decide to make different eating and lifestyle decisions, that doesn't mean you didn't love yourself at that other weight, because the first part of being healthy is loving yourself where you're at. So I just thought about that, like the criticism that Lizzo has received for losing weight.
Yeah, that's a shame. I know. The thing about that is you have to be able to shut out all the noise. But when you live in a social media arena, it's hard to shut the noise out. And especially that's where you live. That's where that's your life, performing in front of people and doing and talking. So that's a shame. I think that's awful. And she I'm quite sure I think she loved herself when she was heavy, and that's fine. You can love yourself when you're heavy, you can love yourself when you're thin. But
Mm-hmm.
the body is designed to carry a certain amount of weight, period. Now, every person that's overweight, not obese, that overweight isn't sick. They may
Mm-hmm.
not have any medical, they may not have any medical conditions. They may not be sick, but over time, the body carrying that much weight, you begin to get some issues, especially your
Mm-hmm.
knees. And when you're young, you can carry weight around on you maybe, and not as, it won't hurt your joint. It's hurting your joints, but you may not feel it as now. But as you get older and stuff, you will begin to feel that. It's not a good thing to be obese, overweight, and carry all of that, because the organs, the joints, and everything are suffering because it's not what the body normally needs. Now, the body, I don't advocate for being super thin. I advocate for being healthy. Whatever that healthy weight is for you. I know there's a BMI, chart out here that says you're supposed to be according to your height. You're supposed to weigh a certain amount of weight, right, on your body. Well, if you got muscle mass and you're going to weigh more than what a normal person would weigh that have fat on the body. So you're better off with more muscle mass, of course, than you are fat on your body. And then you might be heavier than what your BMI say you should be. So that it's not true for all. So basically, you have to know what's healthy, feels healthy on your body. And now the latest science saying is that as we get older, of course, we don't need to be so thin. We need to keep a little bit of weight on our body to be healthy at maybe the high end of the BMI chart instead of at the lower end, which is, BMI 18 is considered low end, and BMI of when you get over 20, 24.9, they consider you overweight, your BMI, according to your weight. But anyway, you need to be somewhere within that, but at the higher spectrum, around 23, 24 of the BMI. But that being said, is that we need to protect our body as much as we can and shut out as much of the noise as we can from people around us, because and it's sad that people have all these opinion of other people because they decide they want to get, it's their body, decide they want to get healthier and take some of the weight off, because she knew what her shoulders felt like carrying extra breast tissue. She knew what her joints felt like carrying extra, hip weight.
Mm-hmm.
All of that weight, what your body feels like. If you don't like that and it's too much and it's heavy on your body, you have the right to slim that down and be okay with that, and not be upset that people are saying negative things about you because you chose to get healthier than what you were, because you don't want the long-term effect on your body for being overweight. And there's a long-term effect on the body for being overweight. It's not good. It's not good on our organs. It's not good on our joints to be overweight. And, that much overweight. You can be a little bit overweight, but to be obese, no, that's not good for anybody. No, nothing I have read that says good to be obese. Nothing. And nothing I've read says it's okay to be extremely overweight. You can be a little bit overweight and probably be just fine if you're doing all the things that you need to do to be healthy. But
Mm-hmm.
but time, you know, will tell, because you begin to get sick. You begin to, not feel well.
Now, on the flip side, everyone's talking about the Wicked cast losing so much weight, like Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia and Ariana are all like super, super skinny. Is there health impacts to it, like being too skinny and like losing a bunch of weight rapidly like that?
I don't know how long it took them to lose the weight. Um, Neither one of them was ever overweight,
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia or, you know, um, neither one of the ladies, they wasn't really that heavy. I mean, when I think back from
Yeah, they
Wicked
weren't.
One, so if they lost 10 pounds, The question is, why did they choose to do that? Are they still healthy? Are they within their, I don't know how tall they are they within their recommended height and weight? I don't know. They might be at the lower end of it, and they still fairly young, both of them, I think in their 30s. Um, so they're probably fine, but as they get older, they probably put some of that weight back on. So, you know, I don't know why they lost the weight. They don't look anorexic. They don't look bad from what I can see. I don't know. And like I said, I don't, you don't want to, but the thing about it, you can lose weight. See, that's not the body was after a while. If you're getting the right amount of nutrients in your body to be healthy, you can lose weight. You can drop weight really fast
Mm-hmm.
because you can eat a lot of green leafy vegetables, a lot of nuts and seeds and grains and beans you will lose weight normally because you're not eating all of that extra salt, sugar, and oil.
Mm-hmm.
And fats. You're not getting all those fats in your diet. You're not getting all those carbohydrates. You're not getting all of that junk that you was eating. If you change over to a healthy plant-based diet, you are going to lose weight and look great. And you maybe be thin. And nothing wrong with that if you're getting the nutrients that you need. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. But if you're doing it to be paper thin, um, if you're doing it for that reason, then I don't know. I can't say. Is there, I don't know how many pounds they lost. I don't know how much and why they did it. Did they do it just for a short period of time for this new film, Wicked for Good? Did they do it just for that? I don't know. Um, and they plan on putting it back on or stay within a certain weight. Um, I don't know. But you don't want to drastically gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. It's not good for the body to do that. You need to try to stay at a consistent weight and a healthy weight for your body frame and height.
And we talked about there being like no magic fix. And right now, because of social media, there's so many people who are online doing like the body checks and they're like, what I eat in a day. And then they show their body. And there's all these influencers and people commenting on like, this is how I achieve this body. How do you, as someone who's online, learn how to spot something that's like just a trend versus something that's good advice on how to consume enough nutrients?
According to what are they eating? This is what they did to get that body, but how? What are they putting in their mouth? Is it healthy? That's another thing. Is it processed food? There's a lot of junk food. Is it something that's sustainable or not? Are they taking a lot of supplements, that type of thing? You go, no, I don't want to do that. Or are they doing, different types of surgical procedures, those type of things to get the body? That is not sustainable. That's something you don't want to put your body through. Now, if they're showing you online, okay, you need to eat, certain amount of vegetables, green leafy vegetables, or as I always say, eat the rainbow of fruits and vegetables. And they're showing you how to do that and how to minimize the salt and sugar and oil and stuff in your food, and showing you that type of thing, then it might be a good person to follow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now we're heading into a new year. What's one thing that you say to someone who's like, you know what, I actually want to get my life together, but I don't know where to start? What would you say to them?
Well, what is it that you want? And have you given it some thought? What direction you want to go in? What is it that you want to do for next year? Did you write it down? Do you have a plan? And
Mm-hmm.
those type things, because to be successful, you got to, did you get your mind in the right place? Or are you willing to do the work that you need to do to accomplish those goals? What are your goals? And are you willing to do that work? Because it's going to take some work. It's going to take intention. It's going to take getting up, doing that, having a journal, writing down what you're grateful for, making a vision board, these type of things. You got to do some work and put some work in action, and then make a plan, and then be intentional about making those plans come true and making those goals simple in bits and pieces that you can achieve it, so you don't get all overwhelmed and stop doing anything. Start small where you are, and then start to the big thing. But first, know what it is that you want to accomplish and what you're willing to do to accomplish it. But you got to get the mind right. If you get the mind right, the body will follow.
Love it. That makes sense. Where, if people would like to work with you or see some of the work you do, where can people find you at?
Adair healthandwellness.com. You go to my website and you can find all the information there, programs that I have upcoming, things I've done in the past. You can see some of the events that I've held, and you can register or just send me an email from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much
Or
for
give me a call.
joining.
I'm always, if you decide to give me a call, 703-618-9694. You can call me and make sure you leave a message, because my phone, if you're not in my phone as a contact, I won't get the message. But I won't get the call. But if you leave me a message, I will get the call, and I'll be glad to call you back.
Perfect. All this information is also going to be in the episode description for people. Thank you so much for being you and giving us real advice, real answers, and not sugarcoating things for quick fixes and fads. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you too. Thank you for having me, and take care.